Acknowledge me.
You just made the list.
I am the BEST.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Damn.
Welcome back to Down Under the Map podcast here in Madison Square Garage, around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, the one-eyed flog, Daniel Danielson. To my right, my fellow Raiders supporter, Roddy Reece. I am Booker Ted.
What did I do to deserve that?
Because you don't support the Raiders, mate.
Oh, shit.
You one-eyed flog.
Wow.
I could have called you a weak-gutted dog. That's even worse.
Yeah, but I'm not Ricky South, mate.
No, that's right.
That's not fair.
What's wrong with... Come on, man. What?
I don't
You
know
don't
what to
agree?
fucking say.
Well, I mean, I'm not going for the Raiders today either. Go the Tigers.
We're not here to talk about the mighty Raiders, even though, as you can see, I am wearing all the Raiders paraphernalia. But Dan just pointed out, none of us are actually wearing any wrestling paraphernalia at all.
Yeah, it's first
Even
for a
though
while.
technically there is the former Raider who now wrestles, so technically I'm in the clear.
Where is he anywhere? Like, Vito's not signed anywhere, right?
it doesn't matter,
I'd
he's still a
say he's
wrestler.
given he's got a WWE contract, I'm sure he's got a 90-day no compete thing. 'Cause
Oh,
he got released. I don't think his
there
contract
you go.
ran out.
There you go.
So
That's
I'd
true.
say
We're going somewhere.
his, I think, fiance. I don't think they're married yet.
She was in.
She's in AEW at the moment.
Oh, yeah. that's
she's
right.
with
Yeah.
Soraya. So I'd say he would most likely be going there if Tony.
Sure.
wants to
Add him to the
make
pile
her
of wrestlers
happy.
that they don't use
All
properly.
right, there you go. Going to join the stacked roster. Anyway, as I said, we're here to talk all things wrestling. Now, normally we don't talk about the shows. We talk about sort of what's happening on the periphery of wrestling. But it's very hard to do that this week, I think, with the shows, especially Raw and SmackDown that we've had. Absolutely insane. I think we all agree that they all had the feeling of like a Raw after Mania.
Absolutely.
And I think they've had an effect on the viewership of AEW as well, Mr. Daniel Danielson. You were saying their viewership was down 30%.
It has been.
Close
So
to,
Dynamite
yeah.
went down to about 500,000 viewers this week, which is their third lowest Dynamite ever.
Yeah.
The only two that were lower were Dynamite specials that they did on a Saturday night.
Right.
Did you see the expected attendance for Collision today?
Oh, like 2,000.
942.
Whoa, dude. Slam had a bigger attendance than that. And will do coming up in November
At the AS
at the
Arena.
AIS Arena.
I will defend
Get on it.
AEW and Dynamite.
It was a really good show.
It was actually a really
It was a
good
good
show
show this week.
I know you both said that, and you're both very big fans of what Okada especially is doing.
He's so hilarious. He is the highlight of the week.
I pushed the wrong button. I'm so sorry.
It's just sad that they're doing good stuff like that, and it's just getting missed because of all the other junk that's going on, you know? Like,
Yeah. It's like, if we want to touch on AEW a little bit to start with, what I think annoyed me a little bit about this Dynamite was that we got a really fantastic MJF and Roosh match to
Yeah.
start with, and it was a good 20-minute match between the two of them. Definitely probably should have been a pay-per-view match, but I think there is some politics around Roosh being on a card with the CMLL people.
I thought
so
they
that's why this wasn't on
Fix
Forbidden
that
Door.
issue.
Yeah, but I think Roosh is different for some
Okay,
reason. So
he's
I don't know.
just- He's just a special one.
Yeah, he's a special case. So that's why this wasn't on the Forbidden Door card, and that's why MJF is facing
Hechicero.
who no one cares about.
Yeah.
Would be weird that that's his match for it, but sure, whatever. And then like that was a fine segment, and then you went into the Acclaimed and Elite match, which is really good. Or probably not in order. I can't remember how it all happened.
Yeah.
You can correct me on this. I'm just going for the highlight stuff, which was the Okada bit, which we thought was hilarious. The Ospreay and Swerve promo.
Yeah,
that was really
second of the
good.
night.
The best part, because I know Ted doesn't watch AEW. One of the best things was they were doing like a really good promo of just, I'm the best in the world. No, I'm the best in the world.
Yeah.
You're better than me kind of thing, right? And then I think they touched, and Ospreay was like, hey, don't make this any more personal than it already is, right?
Yep.
We're just going to have a good wrestling match.
Yeah.
And so he walked away, and Swerve grabbed him and was like, oh, no. Before that, Swerve said something about the reason that you're not a Killer Instinct anymore is because you've got a wife and kid at home.
Yeah, mentioned having to sacrifice family time to be a world champion and
Yeah.
put in that commitment to be the face of a company.
Yeah. And Ospreay got back in his
Ospreay
face.
was
and
like, don't mention my son ever again.
Yeah, keep it, don't mention him again. And so then, as he walked away, Swerve said, well, when you go home, say hi to Hannah and Henry for me.
Yeah.
Like he made it. He deliberately made it personal, which I think is a nice touch to that.
Yeah, it's really building up the interest in that match, and that's going to be
Yeah.
a hell of a slobber knocker.
But then the point where I think they jumped the shark, and this to me is the part where we've said previously that AEW can sometimes feel like Tony Khan's just playing with his toys and just, knocking the two wrestlers together. There was a international you'd say it's international type match with Daniel Garcia squashing someone.
Yeah.
And he won, but then he got beat up by Brian Cage in the
Gates of
Agony and Hector Cero. And they came down and were beating up Danny Garcia. And then because MJF is facing Hector Cero, he came out to try and make the save. Not necessarily to save Daniel Garcia,
Yep.
but to attack Hector Cero.
Right.
Cool. MJF's back on the screen again. Everyone loves him. Great pops. And then they get outnumbered. And then Will Ospreay comes out.
Right.
And I think the tie into this is that Ospreay is the international champion and Daniel Garcia is trying to earn his respect to get a title shot.
Yeah.
So Ospreay's come out to help Garcia.
Yep.
But then they
I'm
do
already
the,
confused.
Correct. But then they do the back-to-back spot where MJF and Ospreay have cleared everyone from the ring and they back into each other. Oh, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
Just to get a
Got a
face-off of Ospreay and MJF. Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because you literally earlier in the night you had that massive promo between Ospreay and Swerve to build that feud up for that match next week.
Yep.
And then now you're already trying to set up
The match
next
at Forbidden
feud.
Door, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I don't get it. And is that trying to build towards a Wembley match of MJF and Ospreay? So are you saying that Ospreay is now going to beat Swerve, take the title, go into All In Wembley and face MJF? Is that what you want us to think? Or are you going to say that Swerve's going to beat Ospreay, but you want MJF to go down and take on the international title and take on Ospreay at all? Like it just doesn't make sense. They're just doing too many things. And this is the
Yeah.
one episode of Dynamite.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then it finished with a really fantastic match between Claudio and Pac as part of the Owen Hart tournament. So I've got to actually find those
Do
quickly.
you think they stacked more in here because they were reacting to Raw?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
I think this is just kind of like what AEW does now. Is just put as much on as physically possible, and they will get some very good wrestling, and they'll get a couple of really good segments, and then they'll just get things that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
Should we start calling it AEHD?
I'm down for that. AEHD. Yeah, well done.
AEHD wrestling. All right.
So the one thing to touch on too is that, like I said, the Owen Hart tournament, right? And so what they have said, and that we said this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, is that the winners of the Owen Hart tournament will get a title shot at Wembley at All In. Okay.
What's
Right.
I haven't seen the full card for
So
either
the
tournament.
women's bracket is Willow versus Serena Deeb, and Willow just won on Collision.
Yep.
So Willow went through. Statlander beat Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose,
that was the match I was talking about. A Tombstone actually finished a match in AEW.
yeah, from
Oh,
Statlander.
right.
I'm amazed.
Was in that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, Nyla
Tombstone
Rose,
in Nyla Rose, like that was a top spot.
Nyla Rose was last on TV in like October 2022.
I was going to say, when was she last on TV?
Correct.
Yeah.
So Statlander's gone through, and the other side is Diana Perazzo versus Hikaru Shida, and Mariah May versus Saraya.
Oh.
So I think that's an interesting women's bracket because I think
Yeah.
if I'm calling this,
I think all four of those could go through realistically on
I
the
think
second side.
Mariah May wins,
Yeah.
and she faces
Like
Toni
the
Storm.
Coleman.
That's
Yeah, because now they're doing their stuff with what's her face? Tony's opponent at Forbidden Door.
Mira Shirakawa,
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
So like they're
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
where she's
they're
picking
doing
the
that whole
sides.
like lovers triangle sort of angle. So
Yes.
maybe she's going to end up picking the side of Mirakawa.
Shirakawa. Yeah.
And what about the men's bracket?
So the men's bracket, the first match was on Dynamite, which was
Yeah.
Claudio and Pac won.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The way that he won was ridiculous. They were doing a sequence of like roll up reversals.
Yeah.
and then
And then he got one of them.
he got one.
But it was you know what?
it was pretty
It was well
surprising.
done. I
Yeah.
liked
Okay.
it. Because it wasn't just a roll up out of nowhere. It
Yeah.
was 15 minutes of a good match, and they kept trying to do pins. And like Reece said, it was a crucifix pin into a roll up pin into a crucifix, rolling around hitting pins, and eventually the third one just got it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Nice touch.
On Collision, maybe I can't remember. I think it's Ray Phoenix versus Jay White for a first round. And then on Forbidden Door next week, it's Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't he the Japanese dragon?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, which
American
I saw.
Dragon
I
versus
saw a
Japanese
video
Dragon.
this morning about the fact of Shingo apparently refused to shake Bryan Danielson's hand or something. That's
Yep.
what they're playing up for that. So.
Yeah. So that'll be obviously good. And putting that on Forbidden Door is fine.
Yeah.
But then the last spot for the men's tournament is Jeff Jarrett versus a wild card entrant.
So Jeff Jarrett's losing.
Well, Jeff.
Who is that wild card going to be? It's going to be
Correct.
MJF.
So Jeff Jarrett gets the entry because obviously he was a tag team and really good friends with Owen Hart. Makes total sense to put him in this tournament for that reason.
But he's getting squashed.
He's going to lose. Who's the wild card?
When is that match as well?
I don't know.
Is
It's
that going
gotta
to
be
be
MJF,
Is that going to be in like 2 weeks? On Dynamite? A week and a half away?
Well,
After Forbidden
it's
Door?
probably after Forbidden
I think
Door.
you've already called it, man. Like, you've already said it and it makes sense, right? So if Ospreay beats Swerve, he's the champion, right?
Yep.
And then goes into Wembley as the champion, MJF challenges him. Like, that's a huge headline.
Maybe
for-
that's
for
what
Wembley.
the face-off was
It's
trying to
gotta
build
be.
out.
Yeah.
As if you'd do any other headline other than Ospreay versus
I'm-
MJF at Wembley.
I'm
Ospreay
going to be
Danielson.
mad if Swerve loses the title already.
I will be too.
That's fucked.
So my other thought then is that if the two other thoughts that I have for who this person is if Swerve retains over Ospreay, the wildcard's Hangman Page, and then Hangman
go.
wins the tournament to
There we
face
go.
Hangman and
I
Swerve.
think
there's
they're
still
better off.
unfinished
I
business
think they're
there.
better off, obviously, with the hometown bloke of Ospreay being in the match.
But I don't think he needs to.
Wembley.
He can be the main event, but he doesn't need to have the main title. No. I think that crowd will go
True,
massive for
he
Ospreay.
doesn't, but it gives it more prestige, and I think you'd get more non-AEW people tuning in.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't think if you have Hangman versus Swerve again, I think that's actually how you turn away more people from watching it. Because like I know a lot of people said they loved that match that they had.
Where he drank his
But
blood.
you are very like with that type of match, you are
Yeah.
literally pushing away casual fans because they go, I don't want to watch that shit.
Yeah.
yeah, no.
So if you're going to get people with eyes on the product, it is Ospreay versus MJF. That is how you get
Eyes,
massive viewership and an actual sellout of 83,000 people turning up to Wembley.
Can we please just not have attendance issues again for Wembley this
yeah.
year?
Yeah. We need to send Rowdy, you know what? We're sending you over. You're going to stand at the door and you're going to count everybody that goes in.
Yeah.
So it's accurate.
Is that like paid?
Oh, shit, no, bro. No.
I can't afford that shit.
Oh, you can't count to 80,000
Bro,
either.
didn't we
Jeez.
tell you? We're just about to chuck you on a ship after we leave here, man.
It's because you stole a loaf of
We're
bread.
mailing you. We're mailing you.
Yeah, I reckon that wildcard spot is either MJF,
Yeah.
Hangman, or possibly
Ricochet.
it could. There's talk that it's going to be Ricochet. No way.
No.
Ospreay.
Yeah.
If Ospreay loses to Swerve
Yeah.
at Forbidden Door, and he wants his rematch, he has to go all the way through the Owen Hart to get back to Swerve, and you have another Ospreay Swerve match. I don't know which one I'd like to see more.
But then, like, that's my thing. Like, Ospreay's the international champion.
yes,
He has not been building a feud for that title much.
yeah,
No.
They've only just
Dude,
started
what
teasing
title
that
have they
Daniel
built
Garcia
feuds
stuff.
for at all in the last 12 months?
I know, but it's
They
just
do it
like,
the week before and go, here's another bloke who
But, like,
everybody knows
That's
from
the
the
thing.
Indies.
Collision, just a random title match for Brian Cage.
him versus Brian Cage. Yeah,
Like, why?
because the Gates
'Cause they
actually beat
can.
him up.
Because they can. Now, let's really just touch on it before we move on to the rest of WWE. But obviously, you mentioned Ricochet.
Yeah.
And there's obviously still a lot of talk about whether or not he's going to be jumping ship to AEW and he might be that wild man in the bracket.
I don't think so.
Obviously, on Raw, it was mentioned the fact that Samantha Irvin wasn't there.
Yes.
Michael Cole actually said she's got the night off. Didn't say why, just said she's got the night off. And we had the announcer from SmackDown there
Alicia
instead.
Fox.
Did you say
Alicia
Alicia
Fox?
Not
Oh,
Alicia.
okay.
My bad.
So, but they also keep replaying
footage,
the
yeah.
footage of
Yeah.
Bron Breakker taking
And
out
they-
Ricochet.
They don't usually do this thing for someone that they're writing off TV because they're leaving the company.
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned on the podcast last week, but Bully Ray on Busted Open had the really good point that if you're riding Ricochet off TV, he goes in that ambulance and you disappears, you never see him again.
Correct.
If you're not, you don't put Samantha Irvin in that
No,
ambulance.
you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we can skip into a bit of Raw. We're not going to go in order because it's a little bit all over the place. And for anyone who has seen it, you know what we're talking about in terms
I've got
of
to
how
get all my
hectic it
notes
was.
for everything that
Please do. But I guess we'll move on to this one because we were just talking about Ricochet, and this is what makes me think Ricochet is actually still in the company and still will be back. We talked a little bit about this before when we were watching Australia lose to Afghanistan in the Cricket World Cup. Is the fact that they hit the reset button for a lot of the feuds for titles, and obviously one of those titles was the Intercontinental.
Yes.
Where now we have this
Chad Gable's
four-way
dead now.
feud for it, because Chad's obviously out of the picture for now. He's got other things that
He's
are gonna
been
be
cleared
happening.
for Monday, according to Adam Pearce. On
Which is
social media.
weird. He was a little shaken up.
Oh, like, did you see
He
his
was
post
dead.
on Instagram?
It's
Chad
like a
Gable?
zombie thing, yeah.
Yeah, he posted a zombie thing. So I think it was one of our TikTok
I want
followers,
zombie
actually.
Chad Gable.
It was one of our TikTok
That would be
followers
pretty
actually
cool.
put it forth that like he comes out and he just acts like old Chad Gable doing the whole "thank you" thing, like he's had amnesia or something.
That would be pretty cool.
That'd
if
be
they do that.
hilarious.
But with the Intercontinental title scene now, we've got Sheamus obviously came out because Bron Breakker decided he was going to face up against Sami Zayn, which
Yep.
I saw that and I went, yeah, I'm keen for
I'm
that.
down, yeah.
Sheamus comes out. I was a little bit like, oh, Sheamus, I really don't like the fact that you look like the main character from The Saboteur from PS3. Anyone who knows that game knows what I'm talking about. Look it up.
I was more thinking he's like lock, stock, and two smoking
The
barrels
main
kind
character,
of that henchman.
no, the main character from the Saboteur game. It's literally during World War II, and he's an Irish race car driver, and that's literally
Okay.
how he looks.
Okay.
He's exactly.
The little
He's
hat
looked at that
sideways.
game and gone, "That's how I'm going to dress."
Maybe Sheamus likes the game. And it's a little
He probably
homage.
does. I hope it is.
Sheamus.
But then obviously Kaiser also came out, which is also exciting because we've been waiting for that Kaiser push a little bit, and it seems to be happening. But then I don't know who it was that mentioned it out there. It might have been you.
Possibly.
Dan?
Yeah.
About the fact of Bron Breakker is most likely going to come out as the Intercontinental Champion from this, which also means that Sami
give that
can
credit
lose
to
the
Dan.
title without necessarily being pinned or losing.
Yeah.
And who comes back to face Bron for his first defense of the title?
A big
Ricochet.
return
Yeah.
at SummerSlam.
So I think the way that they pitched this whole segment and then the match between Sheamus and Bron was great. The fact that it's probably like we think leading into a fatal four-way with all of them is good. Like you just said then, means that Sami can lose the title in Montreal without copping a pin.
Yeah.
Which is probably what we want to see happen if
Yeah,
that's the case. So then you can get Sami back into the world titles picture if Gunther gets it, or into whatever's happening with the bloodline and stuff and
Yeah.
whatever. I want to talk about that spear from Bron on Kaiser. The
Yep.
fact that Kaiser takes out Sheamus, puts him up against the steps to do that running around kick
Yep.
that he's been doing, and then Bron just sort of gives him a head start and he's like, let's go.
Yeah.
The camera that goes up from the top to catch them running around the ring.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that
Perfect.
spear was the greatest spear I've ever seen in my life.
It was fantastic. And this is the whole point of this, is to show off how good Bron Breakker is. That's why you put someone like Kaiser in this kind of environment, because
Yeah.
he can sell. He's going to help
He
Bron
sold
look
that
good.
spear, my God. And
But the other thing I think that's leading to this, right, is because Bron's obviously still going to be, they want Bron to be a heel. And
Yes.
he is of that ilk that he's so good that you like him,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Even though he's a heel.
100%, yeah.
How do you get the crowd to go against him? You have the very popular Samantha Irvin be involved in the feud between him and Ricochet, because let's all be honest, Ricochet, I think he's that type of wrestler that people see him and go, oh, awesome, we're going to see some awesome moves.
Yeah.
But he's not necessarily the wrestler where you go, oh, we want him to win,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do you want the crowd to get behind him?
That.
Samantha Irvin's involved and she potentially gets injured by Braun or something along those lines, and then everyone gets behind Ricochet for him.
I could
to
picture
win.
like a backstage confrontation, like Samantha's getting interviewed about Ricochet's status and how he's recovering and all that sort of stuff, and then
Yeah.
Bron just comes in from off screen and just stares at her.
Or even like he ups the ante on what Logan Paul was doing with like the announcing.
Say my
this
name
and winners.
again. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he just gets real aggressive with it. Like
Yeah.
that would be sick. The other way that you, like you said, that we're going to cheer for Bron, because everyone that's seen him through NXT, the stuff with the Wolf Dogs, we all know how good he is. We want him to go really well. If he takes the IC title off Sami in Montreal, the crowd is going to hate him.
Yeah.
He's going to get heel heat no matter what happens if Sami loses because of him.
Yeah.
So he can spear literally everybody and then pin Kaiser, and he's still going to get booed out of the building.
Yeah.
In Montreal. So I think the way they've put that together, if that's the plan for them for the next couple of weeks, I really like that IC title scene, because you want Sheamus to win because he's not a Grand Slam champion until he wins that IC title. You want Bron to win because you want him to get his chance. You want Kaiser to get a bit of a shine because Gunther's still away and he's trying to prove that he's still part of Imperium and he's right there with Gunther. You want Sami to keep going so well because everyone just loves Sami Zayn.
Yes, exactly. That's a good feud and brilliant. They're the right people for the intercontinental scene too.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Now let's go back to the beginning of Raw.
Yes.
Because there was a very much surprise return.
I almost forgot this happened.
picked. Yeah, exactly. I just
so
remembered
much
it all.
happened this week. It
Seth
just got
Rollins came
overshadowed.
back. We won't go into too depth of everything they said, but Seth Rollins has come back. Damien, as the champions, come out to face him, and obviously there was a little bit of back and forth there. And I do like the fact that Damien's more than happy to say, no, you know what? If you want to go for it, I'll accept your challenge. Let's go for the title. And I like what they're doing here in terms of actually building up Damien as a formidable wrestler, as a formidable force in the ring. He's not running away. So he's not really that heel champion. They're sort of playing off that he's a heel, but we kind of like him, right? So obviously that's going to play into the other stuff we're going to talk about with the Judgment Day.
Reece and I talked about this before you got here. We liked the fact that, I really like the fact that Damien said, I wanted to beat you for the title.
Yes.
I didn't want to cash in on Drew. I wanted you.
Yeah.
So that instantly makes this match feel important.
Yeah.
But we've also said for the last couple of weeks that Damien is now starting to grow on us as a wrestler. We all knew he was very talented, but we just didn't, as transitional
He's
champion, we
very
didn't
good
care.
in the ring. He's very good in the ring.
But he beat Jay, and that means, he beat Jay for the title. He obviously beat Drew at WrestleMania. He then beat Drew in Scotland, and everyone's like, well, he's not going to win those matches. Now you line him up to assumedly beat
the
Seth.
longest reigning
Seth
or
Rollins.
inaugural champion, and that's going to cement him
Correct.
as the champion.
And all of a sudden, you look
Yeah.
at Damien's reign now, it's not a transitional reign. He's had a good 4, 5, 6 month reign,
Yeah.
beating a lot of good people. It makes his
Dude,
title
there's no way Seth's going to walk just back in and get that title back.
No,
right? There's just
no, he's not
We know
Charlotte
they're
Flair.
going to have a banger of a match, right? But I have to say, though, I don't know if it's them keeping kayfabe, and maybe it is because Seth is that bloody good. He was looking really stiff when he was walking down to the ring. I don't know if it was just because of what he was wearing and his footwear, but he looked really stiff
didn't
to
know.
me.
Wasn't
the way he
those
was
big
moving.
red boots, so I didn't really.
No,
didn't
he
notice.
just looked a little bit more stiff than he was when he left. That's all.
I just
to
wonder if
me.
it was like them asking him to come back early. So they've got something
you've
to
gotta
tide
think-
Priest over until Gunther at
We've got to
SummerSlam.
think, when you say come back early, we haven't seen him since Mania.
It's 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months.
That's still a pretty long time.
I expected him
Yeah.
gone
Late,
a lot
later.
longer. Like I mentioned off air, I expected to see him come back at or around SummerSlam, not
Yeah.
before Money in the Bank the month before. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The-
Look, I'm just excited for the match.
Oh,
and I
100%.
think
It's great to have Seth
It's a
back,
great way
like-
to do it because Seth literally is the former champion. Outside of Drew, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that he would get a title shot. You don't really have to explain it. He's back, and Damien's going, I want to prove myself against you because, as you said, I wanted to win this title off of you, so I'm happy to accept.
Yep.
And I think this is one of those times that the fans sort of go, yeah, you don't really need to give us any other reason for this. We're happy
Agree.
to have this match.
And if this isn't the match, if they didn't bring Seth back early, what are we going to do with Drew? Not Drew.
With Damien.
Damien.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
There was
obviously
no feud.
the only other thing he's really heavily involved in at the moment is all the Judgment Day stuff, which is more about Rhea and Liv, even though
And
Rhea's
Dom,
not there,
yeah.
and Dom, and obviously Finn.
And
now
then
as
you
well.
don't want to take Damien and that world title down to that level. No. But there's no one else that you can bring up to Damien's because obviously Drew and Punk, which we'll talk about as well, is its own thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Seth, if he wasn't back, he wouldn't be there. Gunther's not until SummerSlam, so there isn't really much for Damien.
Yeah.
I think this is a really perfect filler match to put in at Money in the Bank to make Damien look good, give him another big title defense.
Yeah.
And then
I would say
set
there's
up
definitely
Shane.
still going to be some form of shenanigans, but I don't know if it'll be someone actually interfering in the match. There might be some ringside shenanigans that might distract or something along those lines.
Maybe.
But I think you need to give Damien a clean win somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the only
again,
thing I
yeah.
can think of is more Judgment Day stuff where he doesn't want them out there, but they come out anyway.
Yeah.
And then that builds more tension for that inevitable split.
Yeah, which I think won't happen until post SummerSlam because I think
More
he's
likely,
going to
yeah.
have Judgment Day into Gunther, and then we discussed again before Ted got here. Me and Reece were talking about SummerSlam. Do you have Gunther beat Damien and then take the title into Bash in Berlin, or do you have Judgment Day do
makes
something
sense.
shenanigan-y
And then he gets a rematch.
and the rematch is in Bash in Berlin?
Either way, I think would work, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But sticking on the Judgment Day, we'll touch on it really quickly. I still love what they're doing with Liv and Dom. I think it's quite funny in the sense of
Do a spit on that title. That's
I know I love the removal of the vest. I think was my favorite
Yeah.
bit. You've got to take it off, and just as he's doing it, Damien comes around the corner. Hey, what are you doing?
it's not what it looks like. I swear.
It's just little subtle things like that, and then obviously the fact that the fact that you've got Damien actually confronting Finn about we know you took the card. I was just
I
protecting
took it
Dom.
just to protect him.
They're doing it very well. I can't wait until Rhea comes back. You saw the pop for Seth coming back.
Yeah.
Rhea's going to have, I think, maybe even a bigger pop when she finally returns. 'cause
My only problem to
I
that.
hope it doesn't get spoiled. I hope
it doesn't.
Like,
I think
because
it's a
Seth
surprise.
was like a complete surprise for everyone. I hadn't heard any rumors or.
Yep,
anything
agreed.
There was
about
one
Seth.
person in the crowd where they literally showed him on camera before the music hit that said, "Welcome back, Seth." And I was like, why has that person got that? And then his music hit. I thought it would have been better if they hadn't have shown that
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
There was one person in the crowd that apparently knew what was going on.
I hope Rhea's a surprise.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a gigantic pop when she comes back, and she's going to be an
SummerSlam?
unstoppable babyface, probably, or sometime like the SummerSlam, the Raw after, whatever.
It'll depend on what's going to happen with Liv and her title. At the
That's my
moment.
problem right now. Is that
'Cause,
all
like,
of this stuff
the-
with Liv,
what they're building at the moment from Raw,
Zelina
is
Vega.
Zelina Vega,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, that does not interest me in the slightest.
Correct. And I think that's the problem we have here is that Liv as a character, we are more invested in her taking over Judgment Day and her getting Dom than anything she's doing with that women's title.
Yep.
But maybe that's why it's Zelina, because they're like, we kind of need someone, but we need someone that's not going to overshadow the other bit of the story.
Yeah.
And then Zelina, I know this is going to sound wrong, but in the sense of she's Latino, Dom's Latino. Like,
Well, you got
there's
Rey
that-
Mysterio and Dom
Yeah,
Mysterio.
correct. Like, you've got that connection there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, it's still not a random person.
Like
There's still
when they started teasing it, I was
And
like, yeah, I
Carlito,
can see
obviously.
I can see the connection there. I can see like why they would build towards that.
And it'll be a good
and
match.
we
but-
know
yeah,
that
but it's
Zelina
just-
can put on a good match.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem with
it's
it. I
just
think
like-
if you're trying to pause the time until Rhea comes back, I don't mind it.
And like that's the thing that's all we're waiting for. We're just waiting for that Rhea return and that confrontation between her and Liv.
Yeah.
because like that episode when Rhea relinquished the title and that face off down the ramp, magic.
Oh, yeah.
When
It's-
Rhea comes back, it's going to be so much better.
And just all the stuff that she's doing with Dom. Like, Rhea's going to kill him. She's going to kill him.
Now, the other really quick one, because obviously more of this happened on SmackDown, we had Drew come out. I quit. See you later. Obviously, they acted it out really well. I think his stuff
yeah.
has been better out of the ring than in the ring. His performances, like when he flipped his lid at Clash of the Castle
Yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah, and like
when
that's
Punk first turned up and he lost his shit. This with Adam Pearce being like, no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. All the stuff outside.
You're
the
all
ring,
falling for it, aren't
but
you?
It seems legit.
Yeah.
It seems legit.
Yeah.
And he deleted all his social media.
Yep.
Oh, did he?
He did on
see that.
Monday.
Yeah, he did.
All of his social media
Yeah.
was gone, and then it all came back on after SmackDown because he changed his profile picture to Punk, but which is hilarious. I agree. I think that the way that when Drew cut this "I Quit" promo, he didn't do a long-winded argument or I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that. He kind of just like,
I'm sick of this.
I'm
company.
done.
I'm done. I quit.
This is bullshit.
And
Yeah.
if someone was going to quit a position like being a pro wrestler or a job like, that's how you would do it. You wouldn't have a big long diatribe about everything. You're like, oh, I'm just fucking done
I have
with
to
this.
try
I
and
quit.
find that video I found and share it with you guys. I don't know if you've seen it where someone was saying that this is literally Brett versus Shawn Michaels
Oh, really?
from back in the day. It's very similar because there was one with Bret Hart coming out after he got screwed over and just saying, I quit.
Yeah.
And didn't say anything else, walking out of the ring. CM Punk's like the Shawn Michaels sort of character where he's been injured
Yeah.
and not on the scene because this is when Shawn Michaels
he's
came
playing
back
a
and
heel,
said,
but he's not the heel.
I lost my smile.
Yeah,
So
okay.
there's a little bit of, and we know that CM Punk is a massive fan of Brett and Shawn.
Yes.
So there's probably a good chance that they are, and there's nothing wrong with that.
of course.
I have no problem with
Absolutely
wrestlers.
not.
I mean, I never saw that stuff live, right? I
Yeah.
came into wrestling just after that when it was Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that kind of era.
Yeah.
So I've never seen that stuff before. So for me to make a correlation, like, I don't see a problem with them borrowing that kind of stuff
No.
as long as they put their own twists on it, which is what they're doing here. Now, what else was there on Raw? Because the main one I'm going to get to is the main event, and then obviously what happened after the main event. But was there anything else you really wanted to
don't-
touch on?
I don't think there was
we've
much
gone through
else.
most of the big notes.
Drew, Seth, Liv steals the thing.
Yeah.
Otis finally snapping on Chad.
Yes, how did we forget that? How did we forget that?
How did we forget?
Because,
Too much
do,
has
do
happened
you know
this
how we
week.
forget? Because it wasn't big enough.
Too much has happened.
He pushed
this
him
week.
over. I wanted more Otis.
Yeah.
And then the backstage segment where they just pack in their bags and they leave. Like, it just
Well,
like,
the fact that Pat McAfee was on there being like, kick his ass, Otis. Kick his
Yeah.
ass. Sorry, kick his ass. Kick his ass, Otis.
it was
kick his
good.
ass, Otis.
It was obviously needed. It
Yeah.
ties into what happens later on in the show and then
Yeah.
where they go with it is fine. But I kind of thought, we said this last week,
Come
the
to
moment
blows.
when Otis punches him in the face, like it's a big thing, it's going to be huge. He shoved him. He got the gigantic pop.
Yeah.
and then
And
left.
then walked out of the ring.
Yeah.
I just
But
want more.
I want to see from this feud, I want to see a match between Chad and Akira Tozawa where Tozawa, he's not going to win, but he should win and get screwed over to give him a rub. That's what
Yeah.
I want to see from this as well.
Well, I
Because
think,
we know
like-
that Tozawa can wrestle.
Oh, yeah,
But
for
he's
sure.
just the joke gimmick.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the modern day Kai and Tai character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Which I loved Kai and
Funaki.
Tai. Just going to put out there. I loved them. But I want to see him have a good match against Chad to bring him up.
Choppy, choppy,
Choppy pee. Yeah, our penis.
Do you want to see Chad win Money in the Bank and then do something that Otis never could?
No.
You don't think that's the
I don't
story?
want Chad anywhere near.
I still think like
It's because it's
even
Jay in the
though
Bank.
Otis snapped and shoved him, I still don't think like that's the final breaking point for Otis.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a moment of like, stop doing this shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave. They'll give it time to simmer down, and then like that big moment where they come to blows is still coming.
Do you think, and this is, I can't remember where I heard this online over the week, that the ending to the show, which we'll talk about in a second, is obviously a part of it is focused on Chad, right? Do you think this then brings Alpha Academy back because he got destroyed by them, then they get sympathy because he got taken out by everyone else, and then they come back to Chad, and then we can build back up to them breaking up again a second time around?
Maybe. I mean, there's a reason why we saw that footage. There's going to be a
Yes,
reason behind it, right? So
I really like the rumor and the theory that's going around that this has caused like amnesia for Chad Gable, and he's just going to come back like he was like 6 months ago.
Before we get to that,
all that
because
sort of
I want you to rehash that bit in a minute, because I like that idea as well. But before we get onto it, obviously the main event was the triple threat for the qualifier for the Money in the Bank match.
Yep.
And we had Jey Uso versus Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. Now, obviously, the problem with this is we already spoke about the fact that we'd really love to see Finn win it, because that would make some great tension between some great tension between him and Damien. But I think it was pretty much telegraphed when Jey Uso said,
Yeet in the bank.
Goose. We think we know who's going to win Money in the Bank here.
Yeah.
And obviously Jay won the match to qualify and was up in the crowd and
then like
doing the thing.
we'll talk about it when we talk about SmackDown, but the two competitors that made it through to the Money in the Bank case, I'm looking at it and I'm just like,
Yep.
the people that we've got that have now qualified and who is yet to come, it's going to be Jey Uso, and I fucking hate it.
I really hope there's a losers bracket and Finn wins it.
That'd be good.
Like,
Like,
is it-
have like the last chance.
It's a battle royale or
or
something.
Yeah.
Finn wins. Because I don't want it to telegraph.
It should
right
be
now.
Finn. It should be Finn. And I think having Finn in the
the real
match
story.
makes you think that, man, it would make sense because him and Damien.
Yeah.
You need to have someone else in there that makes sense.
They already
for.
sowed those seeds on Raw.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the backstage promo.
Well, they also did the entire time Damien was Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Because it was Finn trying to help him, or he was trying to help Finn beat Seth all those matches with the Money in the
Yeah.
Bank briefcase. You do it the other way around, and like maybe it works straight away, and then Finn proves that he's better than Damien. Like there's a lot of story to be told there. I don't care for Jey Uso.
I don't think
as
there's going
Money
to be
in the
any
Bank.
satisfaction with Jay winning and then cashing in.
No, because who's he going to cash in on, right?
Because we've got
I'll
that
throw
bloodline stuff in the works.
Yeah, I will throw my
Please do.
idea in here because I'm just thinking of it now
Yep.
as we're talking about it.
Cook, mate,
I
cook.
think what they're potentially building to here is Jay's going to cash in on one of his family members who's potentially going to beat Cody at some point for the title.
No
What,
way.
you reckon
Solo.
Roman or Solo beats Cody and then Jay cashes in?
It won't be Roman, it'll probably be Solo.
No way
pushing
Solo
They're
is
pushing
winning.
it hard.
I think
man.
I said that a couple of
They're
podcasts
pushing
ago.
it
No
hard.
way. No way.
Reece, can I just... I know what you're saying because I feel the same way as you, but you've got to remember, you've got to think like them. They are pushing Jay hard. They are pushing Solo hard. They are pushing the Bloodline hard.
And I think I
At
watched
some
this.
point, someone from the Bloodline is going to be... Because Cody can't be champion forever.
Yeah.
He is a better underdog than he is a champion. We all know that.
I was
He's only
watching-
the
I know,
champion
I know.
because the kids love him.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he
100%.
sells figures
sells
and stuff. The thing that I want to talk about to that point is I was watching Santi's video, and he made a very good point that I believe. Is that Roman Reigns and his title reign has skewed everybody's perception of a champion of a title has been.
Yeah.
Because before Roman, if you were a champion for 6 months, that was a good long run.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's it's got to hold it for a year plus. It's got to hold it for 2 years. No, he doesn't, because
How do you make that title reign look even better is by having people only do 3 or 4 months.
correct. And so I think that as much as we wanted Cody to go from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, I don't think he should now. I think he should lose it at some point.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't want to hot potato the title.
No.
But
No.
3 months, 4 months, switch it around. Go for it. If you want to do a shock one where you win it one pay-per-view, drop it the next, win it back the next one, I'm also fine with that.
Yeah.
I just think we have to reset our expectations around title runs when you've had the era that we've had lately of Roman and Gunther and the Usos where they were holding all the titles for years at a time. It kind of, as much as we loved those characters, it made those reigns a little stale.
Yeah.
Let's switch it around. And I think Cody, like you said, Ted, is a better chaser than he is a champion.
Correct. And the other problem I've got with the whole thing, though, because I as I said, I do feel your pain.
But like
It's
Solo being the one to do
I
it?
know, but then it's like, because if Jimmy's going to win it,
Look,
he'd have to
I'd be
cash in
happy-
on someone from the bloodline for it to
I'd be
actually
happy with
make
that
sense.
if it was Solo wins and then gets immediately cashed in on.
Yeah, I'll be fine for
Yeah,
that.
that's
Then,
what I was
then
sort
that
of
just
thinking. a
fuels
similar
that
one
like
to the other
crazy
side.
aspect of that bloodline that they're going with.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we then move on to the really big reveal of the Wyatt Six, right?
Mate, the Wyatts.
The Wyatts.
They're here.
So Nikki Cross crawling out like the girl from the Ring, looking scary as hell. Now, props to WWE. I don't know if they had some really cool like editing done where all that stuff was pre-recorded or something, and they just because when they go through the dark spot, we're able to cut between the video, or if it was all done live.
I think that was all like
It must have been live because the
Live.
way they all walked out, man, it was so good and
So magical.
And we already talked about it off air, but the fact that the only wrestler that we can definitely 100% identify was obviously Chad because we had that
just
zoom
Chad.
in on
It's
Chad.
just Chad. Yeah.
But they were very strategic, I think, with some of the other ones with a Braun lookalike, a Carmelo lookalike, someone who had very Gunther hair.
Look,
Like there was some interesting bits in there for sure.
So Wheezy Blonde, another massive TikToker over in America,
Yeah.
she put out a theory that if it was all
The
these
Chelsea Green
characters-
impersonator, I know the one you're talking about.
yeah. So if it was Gunther and Carmelo and Braun and all that sort of stuff,
Yep.
if they had been taken out by the Wyatts, they have all betrayed like family members in the past, so it would have made sense.
Yeah, okay.
But then Suplex Media, who used to do producing for OVW, came out and said, if you are going to be taking out big names like that, why not focus on them
make a
like
point.
you did for Chad Gable?
Yep.
Put that emphasis on it. Hey, we took these guys out, not have it be, was that
Yeah,
that
and
that person?
It also goes to what we were saying before around the Ricochet stuff. Is they put Samantha Irving in that ambulance for a reason. Everything WWE is doing right now, everything they are showing you, and everything they
a
are
reason
telling you
behind
is
everything.
a reason for it.
And you were mentioning before about the fact of someone's come up with the idea of Chad being like this zombie kind of character or
zombie
potentially
Chad.
having amnesia or something.
Yeah.
Or it could be along the lines
just
of
reverting to his
potentially-
like
yeah.
older Alpha Academy
Or-
self and just being happy again.
Or could it be something along the lines of, because remember, if we go back to the Fiend of Let Me In, could it be something like he's been attacked by them and now all of a sudden he's just going to be like full-on evil Chad? And instead of like just pushing
wait
Tozawa
for
and
Mo-
slapping
I
them,
can't wait
he's,
for Raw,
he's
dude.
just going to attack them, you know what I mean?
One of the
And beat the
things,
crap out of Otis.
one of the things on the spoilers or whatever the QR codes and stuff, it had the initials CG on it.
Yeah.
They also had the thing that said you stopped saying thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that see that and then you saw Chad, they're like, oh, that makes sense. It's now tying in. I can't wait to see what happens in the next couple of weeks to see if people can then go back to the barcodes from 3 or 4 weeks ago and
And
find
say
something.
what-
and,
yeah.
Oh, that was for this person.
Yeah.
Because 100% they've done it. Like the
There's-
storyline is planned.
There are so many layers to this. And now you've got the theories of this sixth member. Like, people are theorizing that it's Bray Spirit in the Lantern. That's the sixth member. And then people are theorizing Alexa
It's still
Bliss,
gonna be
when she's
Alexa.
coming back.
Yeah. But that was what I was sort of thinking because you're saying about a sixth member.
Yeah.
For me, technically, that's what I'm sort of thinking. The Let Me In thing is that Chad right now becomes that sixth member because he sort of gets possessed.
Yeah.
Because they've attacked him. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
they do
he'll-
paranormal very well there.
Yeah, and he'll attack Otis and like literally like I'm talking Rock on Mankind 17 chair shot kind of attack and just go nuts kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Not
the other
to the
thing
head, though.
they've said,
No, not to the head, please. And that was the other thing that got me though in this footage was the blood.
yeah,
The blood on the wall
Yeah,
and the
it
blood
was-
on Chad. I was like, oh,
so well
where
shot.
are we going here? Like that's not something they normally do on the Raw and SmackDown.
What they've said though, and what has been confirmed by a lot of people that are into the story, is this is not paranormal. They are not doing ghosts and random stuff. This is just horror style Wyatt people. They are just weird horror
Yeah.
characters that are going to weirdly interact and just attack people. It's not going to be the paranormal like lightning and things and like weird stuff they tried to do before.
With Bray.
Yeah, correct.
okay.
Because that no one likes it. Because I think someone, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was Dave Meltzer or someone said a ghost can't suplex a wrestler.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't want the paranormal side of it. You can be creepy as hell and you can have all the masks and do all this sort of stuff and attack people, but keep it grounded. And I think that's what they are doing.
Those
Okay,
masks.
Interesting.
Holy shit.
So what are all the
Dude,
characters?
Nikki
'Cause-
Cross.
all right,
is,
so-
Nikki Cross is Sister Abigail. I know
No,
that.
she's not.
no,
Isn't she?
she's Abby the Witch. So
Yes.
they're all the
That's the one I couldn't
Firefly
remember the
cunt.
the Firefly characters.
Finish that word,
Funhouse
man.
characters.
Yeah,
right?
far out.
So Nikki, she's playing Abby the Witch. We then saw Eric Rowan,
Yep.
who's portraying Rambling Rabbit, which really nice touch on the back of his mask.
Yep.
Is the skull mask from Bludgeon Brothers.
And he's holding the
hammer.
holding
yeah,
the hammer
with
with
help.
help on it. We
Is that a call out to Al Snow?
No.
it's
So
so
Rambling
much
Rabbit had the puppet had a little sign that said help on it because he
Okay,
used to
alright.
get killed often in the Firefly Funhouse.
Surely that
segments.
was a callback from Bray Wyatt though for Al Snow because he had that on head.
when he
remember?
did it. Maybe.
Yeah,
He had it
maybe.
on head.
Maybe.
Oh, he did have it on the head. Yeah.
We then saw Dexter Loomis, who is portraying Mercy the Buzzard.
Yep.
Which that mask is by far my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah,
of the
spooky as hell, man.
Go through the curtains. We got Joe Gacy as Huskus the pig.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
And then
Uncle Howdy. Yeah. Now look, the debut
Oh,
went
so good.
really well.
So
I think
good.
all the members make sense. Obviously, it opens the door for Alexa Bliss coming back into that
Yeah.
as well, or she might come
So-
back and be against them.
something interesting. Irish Neep, who does like all the really in-depth breakdown of all this Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy stuff. He's done a specific video on TikTok about Alexa Bliss. Is she returning? Is she not? So with all the teasers that we've had leading up to their debut, it's been that little like circle symbol with the Raven in it. But since they've debuted, there's no Raven. Even
forevermore.
yeah. So
Yeah, right.
His theory was that Alexa Bliss will be that Raven.
Yeah.
Like she's.
But
the
they've
Night
already
Bird.
got one.
She's Abby the Witch.
No,
No, what
he's
about-
talking about Raven.
Valkyria. Isn't she a raven?
Oh,
Or is she a
Lyra.
crow? Lyra. Yeah, isn't she a raven? Isn't that the whole point?
Who knows?
yeah.
I think that
There's
Alexa.
so many layers to this. Dude.
I think Alexa Bliss is a big enough character as Sister Abigail that she can debut herself separately.
She's been
Yeah.
gone for so long.
She had a child.
Like,
I know, but still, like,
put a
she's been
TikTok
gone for so long. She's got-
TikTok up. Let's just let them cook.
Yeah.
Let's just be patient with this.
And I
Because,
also,
the lead up to the debut was maybe stretching it a little bit, but they're here now.
They
Let's
nailed
see
it
what
when they
happens.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This whole focus on Alexa Bliss, just it's a future story.
And I think
point.
I
Let's
wanna
just
talk
leave it in
about-
the future and just wait.
how good WWE have done all of that.
Yep.
And the way they have made it transcend that scene. They obviously went on to hacking Adam Pearce's Twitter
Yep.
account and stuff. They went on to SmackDown when Nick Aldis had
The
more
Pat
extra
McAfee
security.
show.
Pat McAfee show, we can talk about too. The extra security on SmackDown.
Yeah.
The fact that the people like Jay, even on the bump afterwards, said they can have their Fireflies back. You saw what happened. I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And the way that all that stuff happened backstage, but when Drew left, and who were the two people that walked with him? Pierce and Triple H.
Yeah.
That's why they weren't backstage.
Yeah.
Because
they
it was
went
like,
out
oh,
with
Triple
him.
H is dead. No, he's not. He left
Yeah.
with Drew,
Yeah.
which ties up perfect. So they just, every
They're
little
thinking about
detail.
it. Yeah. Well, and we'll move on to SmackDown because we want to try and keep this a little bit short. And I knew we were going to go longer because,
Yeah.
a lot of
so
awesome
much
stuff happened, but some great things happened on SmackDown as well to really tie into this. And I want to start with that one actually because you said something that really tied in well for me with this, with the thought of the Wyatt Six, and that was obviously we knew CM Punk was turning up.
Yeah.
And I know this is skipping ahead of the other stuff that he did, but I feel like this is a really nice tie-in for what you said.
Yep.
CM Punk obviously got attacked in the end by Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
But when it happened with that banging on the door, there was that seed in your head where you went, oh, is that the Wyatt Six? Have they turned up at SmackDown now? And that's how good they're doing it, telling the story, because I guarantee you they did it that way to make you think that it was something like that. But it was just Drew and CM Punk. And I
Just
know-
Drew.
Now, I've got to say, I haven't actually watched SmackDown. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I have seen some of the results. And I know you two don't want to talk about that scene especially because the way it was filmed, by the sounds of it, pure cinema.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's go to SmackDown then.
Yeah.
Obviously, the reason that we knew all this was going to really kick off was that it was in Chicago.
Yeah.
In the Allstate Arena, 15,000 people. They announced CM Punk was going to be there
Ahead of time, yep.
So the open of the show is Punk, right? As it should have been, because if he wasn't the first thing out there, the entire crowd would have chanted CM Punk until he showed up. That opening promo from him, saying all the stuff that he was saying to Drew and how what was he? He was a little like how I did it and like what was his promo? I'm blanking on all the stuff that he
That's
said.
all right. It's all right. You don't have to go in depth, but you know it was good. You know it was good.
Well, it
It was
always
just about
was.
him quitting and the fact that like he wanted to make Drew suffer more, but he's just taken his ball and gone home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Which plays in really well to the fact of Drew attacking him later because he's playing into that fact of he's gone. See you later.
Yeah.
He's gone.
The fact that Paul Heyman came out mid-promo,
Yep.
I popped so hard when I heard, ladies and gentlemen.
my
I was like,
eyes
oh my
bugged
God,
hard.
yes. The way that he came out, the way that Heyman has been selling his fear of the bloodline is brilliant. And the way that you could sort of tell that he doesn't want to talk to everybody. He doesn't trust a lot of people. And he's very scared, but he trusts CM Punk.
Yeah.
And so when he let him into the ring and they hugged,
That was
it
a
was
long
like
hug.
a 30-second hug. And you could tell
Yeah,
it was
you said
really,
that, yeah.
really cathartic for Heyman to have that. And
Because
then
he said right after, like, thanks, I really needed that.
yeah,
And
because
he's like wiping tears away. And all
he needs a
that.
friend. Because
Yeah,
he was
right.
the wise man to Roman Reigns.
Dude, they're so good at blurring those lines, eh? They really are. Heyman did the same thing with Cody before that build up to the first match
yeah.
between him and Roman. Like
Where
he's doing the same
Roman
thing
was the son
where
that
he
Dusty
really
never
is
had.
probably
Yeah.
crying tears of joy because he's like, here's one of the guys I believed in who's back in the ring and is, you know, the sellout that I always knew he was. You know, like there's that feeling, but he's tying it into the wrestling story of the fact of I'm scared of Solo. Like he's so smart at the way he does it.
This promo, phenomenal. And the way that he said to Punk, I'll give you a favor if you give me a favor.
Yeah.
And he says to Punk, my favor to you is you say that Chicago is your town.
Yeah.
But Solo thinks every town is his town now, and he doesn't like that. So they are going to come out and get you. Leave. Get out of here. Get out of the ring. Otherwise, those crazy Tongans and Solo are going to come out and get you.
Yeah.
And then Solo's music hits. He comes out, and Punk says, all right, well, hang on. Before we start this, if we're going to do this, Paul, what is my favor to you? What do you want from me?
Yeah.
And Heyman just walks up to him, and with the best puppy dog scared eyes you have ever seen on an adult in your entire fucking life, he just says, take me with you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was brilliant. And then they get up, and Punk takes his jacket off, and you're like, all right, Punk's going to stand up to them. And then Cody comes in with a baseball bat and scares them off.
Yeah.
Exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
So well done. And Chicago ate it up.
Yep.
Punk looked great. Cody looked good for making the save. Cody then called out Solo for a match in the main event, which we knew was never going to actually happen because
No.
why would they give us that on a random SmackDown?
Of course.
Just so well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
obviously like, some other big points before we get to the big debut at the end of the show.
yes.
Obviously we had some more qualifications for Money in the Bank. Carmelo Hayes, which, you know, we sort of look at that and go, yep, okay, up and comer, that makes sense. That person's in.
He won the match with Randy Orton and Tama Tonga.
Yes.
Yep.
Because Solo had said to Paul at the start of SmackDown, make sure you tell them Randy and KO do not qualify.
Yeah.
Make sure that happens.
Yeah.
So Tama Tonga, and that kept taking out Randy. I think Tonga lower interfered, which allowed Carmelo for the quick roll up.
Yeah.
So again, that worked. Solo.
And then they attacked KO before his qualifying match even started.
Yes.
So he was limping throughout the whole match.
Yep.
And then the other big qualification, which I think this hopefully is one that's telegraphed to be the winner eventually, was Chelsea
please.
Green. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, she's Canadian, right? She's Canadian? Yes, she is, because she's a
Yeah.
Vancouver fan.
Yeah.
So Money in the Bank's in Canada.
Oh mate, she's gonna get such a pop.
And
gonna win.
I tell you what, now
gonna
that I'm thinking about it, I think this is a good way for this story to go because we were talking about getting Piper up to the top of the card. And I feel like this is how you actually do it because we know what's going to happen, right? Chelsea's going to need Piper's help to get that belt.
Yeah.
Chelsea's probably going to win the belt, take all the glory for herself, and that's what's
And
going
then
to
Piper
turn
turns
Piper
on
on
her.
her
Yep.
because she's like, the only reason you got that is because you've been teamed with me. I've been
like that.
carrying this team the
like
whole
that.
time.
Yeah.
And then you get a Chelsea versus Piper for the title.
I like
And
it.
then Piper gets the title.
I wanted
Yeah.
Tiffy time. I wanted Tiffy in the back.
Yeah.
I think you
Look,
can get
like,
Tiffy after that.
I think she still might qualify,
Yeah.
but I think given the thing that happened, because she's been kind of like taking a back seat since that incident.
Well,
on
she's
social
almost
media
been.
happened.
She's also been setting up a team with her and Nia, which
Yeah.
I'm not against. I
think,
quite like.
I think
that.
that's going to be setting up for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And Tiffy will help Nia win the title off Bailey at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
But yeah, as much as we wanted Tiffy in the bank, I feel like
Chelsea.
they've got to
to
give it to Chelsea.
Well, look, I think, and the thing is as well, you do need Chelsea, I think, to carry it for a few months at least, with Piper defending her. You know what
she
I mean?
is
Being
the
a
perfect-
shit-eating heel
Absolutely.
champion.
She's gonna win,
The
never
scaredy cat
clean.
that's
It's always
running
gonna be
from
dodgy.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I
Love
think
it.
that's
Great
really
TV.
exciting for me because Chelsea's been doing such a great job at literally just being not a great wrestler, and I know she's done it in interviews before. She's talked with Chris Van Vliet especially, where she says she's more than happy to be that person where she's just on her back losing all the time. Because she says someone's got to do it to build up other wrestlers, and I think she deserves
And
a
like
little
you
bit of limelight because let's be honest, like
Exactly.
when she's out there,
Exactly.
She tends to get a lot of
Limelight.
attention anyway.
Yeah.
She ends up being the limelight. Even without trying, she'll be the limelight because she's that
You
popular.
can go out there on a losing streak, but she's doing it in a style that gets everybody interested.
I think the thing that
Who
she
knew
said.
we'd love a Karen so much?
The thing that maybe she said it on the Chris Van Vliet or some other interview she had.
Yeah.
Her whole thing about wrestling is maximizing your minutes.
Yeah.
And if you get 2 minutes on your show, you make
Yeah.
the most out of those 2 minutes. And every single time Chelsea's out there, she does.
She maximizes
absolutely.
it. No, absolutely on point. And we get to see her very lucky husband next week.
We do.
He won't be wrestling, but he'll be there at World Series Wrestling. We'll point that in there before we talk about the last bit of SmackDown. If you're going to World Series Wrestling in Penrith next week, look out for the
this
Dunham
ugly
boys.
mud.
We will be there. Come say good day, grab a drink with us.
I'm
talk some
apparently
wrestling.
very noticeable.
You are, mate. Especially
Yes.
when you burp all that barbecue that you had for lunch. I keep tasting it this whole podcast. Was there anything else from SmackDown you wanted to touch on? I needed to touch
Andrade
on before we get
qualified.
to. Oh yeah, Andrade qualified
With a
as well,
sick
sorry.
finish.
Yeah. So, what is Grayson Waller call it? Is it the Rolling Thunder?
Well, he does. It's a rolling stunner.
Stunner,
So he
yeah.
jumps from outside the ring through the middle ropes, rolls up, and stuns them.
Yeah. But Andrade catches him and then just like gives him the twisting neck breaker.
Yeah, nice.
One fluid motion.
It was perfect.
I popped so hard. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then he wins
this
the match.
run with Andrade coming back to WWE, I've looked at it and gone, shit, I didn't realize how good this guy actually was.
Yes.
And they haven't done much with him yet.
No,
and it's
like-
just.
But that's okay because there's a lot of other stuff going
Yeah.
on. Let him just do good moves like that where you go, shit, Andrade's good.
The thing that we sort of touched on, we haven't really focused on, was the Drew and Punk thing, right?
Yeah.
The way that was set up and shot, again, phenomenal.
Yeah.
We talked about with the Wyatt 6 debut, the one shot camera where it went out through all the dry ice in the backstage, Uncle Howdy, then all back through, perfect. The way they shot this, you have Grayson Waller and DIY arguing about little things, bang on the wall, and then it lifts. And the first thing that the crowd is like, we said,
Yeah.
is what is it? And then you just see a body, and then it's like
CM Punk, yeah.
it's CM Punk, and then so
blood
all the
everywhere.
crowd's like, "Oh my God, Punk!"
Yeah.
and then it just lifts,
And that's how you
lifts,
get Drew
and
heat, man.
lifts,
You're in Chicago, baby.
and it's Drew, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh!" And then Drew just picks him up
Fireman Carey?
and walks, and he walks through the entire backstage, and there is like Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin watching.
Yeah.
There is the LWO that watching one past.
Kayla
There's
Braxton.
everyone.
Indian Candace. Like, everyone just like, as Drew's walking past, everyone's just like,
You know, this is crazy because you think about it and you look at it and you go, Drew and Punk are two geniuses working together because they've planned this from so long ago. The fact that Punk was going to screw Drew in his home country for the title. The fact that Drew's going to bloody Punk in his hometown and just leave him lying there as a bloodied mess in front of all his fans. Like, this has been planned. If they're coming up with it week by week, I have trouble
just
believing
falling
that.
into
You know what I mean?
place.
It's falling into place. This is going to be so far ahead planned
like,
because it's brilliant.
we-
And now Punk, technically, you would look at it and it makes sense that he wouldn't be at Money in the Bank because he's been taken out.
Yeah. Yep.
And what does that build to? SummerSlam.
Because he was taken to a local medical facility, not a
Never a
hospital.
hospital. Vince is gone. Sorry, Redacted is gone. We can call them hospitals again, can't we?
I just can't believe it. Like, when we had the announcement that Punk wasn't going to be at Raw and he was going to be on SmackDown, we expected some sort of
Something's gonna
confrontation.
happen.
This is better than I thought. Yeah,
This just blew expectations out of the water.
this SmackDown was incredible.
Yeah.
And then obviously
then
leads to the main
debut,
event, which
yeah.
goes for 3 or
it's
4
2
minutes,
minutes,
and then the
Bloodline come out, and then
break it up.
RKO comes out.
So
And
then,
then-
but the thing that always gets me every time is when Corey Graves on commentary he goes, "Oh, now they've got the numbers game, they've got the advantage," and then the RKO and that come out, "Oh, they've evened the odds now, it's all even." I'm like,
Makes it too
now
obvious.
you're calling it
Yeah.
that something is happening.
Yeah.
I was especially telling, like, because you don't see Solo react like that. When he got backed in that
Oh,
corner, he's just like,
perfect.
and then he just like looked up very slowly and
And
started
just
laughing.
cheeky grins. Oh, so the way that a lot of people online have said that they didn't want to debut. Obviously, this was Jakob Fatu. Congratulations.
Spoilers.
Spoiler. But they didn't want to bring Jakob Fatu in earlier because they didn't want to overshadow Solo. I think that they have timed this debut really, really well.
Yeah.
Because it's at the point now with this new bloodline where they have made Solo dominant as the leader, but also crazy in that everything he's doing,
Yeah.
he's bringing in Tongalo, he's bringing in Tama Tonga.
Unpredictable.
No one knows what he's doing. Heyman's too scared to know what's going on. He's shivering in his boots. He said on this show that Roman Reigns isn't returning, which
Yeah.
he clearly is. Obviously, that's
Well,
why
when
they're
you say
saying
he's not returning, that's pretty much given that he's returning.
Correct.
absolutely.
So I think they've done a lot to make this new bloodline seem crazy and outlandish, but Solo is in charge of the chaos.
Yeah. Okay.
And so now is the point where you can bring in Jakob Fatu, and he can outshine every single one of them in the ring because he is the best wrestler of all of them. But I don't think that takes away from Solo and what he's made this bloodline to be.
Yeah.
They are chaos.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's what they have set up.
Do you think this is going to lead to a modern day NWO and Wolfpack situation when you do get Roman come back? Because we've got so much bloodline growing now, man. It is getting
that's
it's getting out of hand.
We've still got a couple people that are rumored to debut soon as
Mate,
well.
and we keep forgetting that
Hikuleo's
Jimmy's
on his
still
way.
not there. He's not back. Jimmy, like, I mean, I feel
And
sorry for
this is
Jimmy because
kinda
it's kind of
like-
like, is he going to get overshadowed completely? Like,
This is kind of like what we talked about earlier, like Jay winning Money in the Bank, Solo beating Cody, and then Jay cashing in on Solo. That means Jay comes over to SmackDown, and then that lines up that bloodline
correct.
feud
Uh,
perfectly.
My worry with that is I don't think you want the title in amongst this bloodline feud.
No, I think it
I
should be
think the
separate.
bloodline
Yeah.
war or whatever you're going to have, the bloodline rules and all that sort of stuff, I think that needs to just be them.
Yeah.
Title can be away from it. So that's why I don't think Jay should win Money in the Bank because when Roman comes back, he's obviously outnumbered. So then he needs to go get his bloodline, which will be Jimmy and Jay and whoever else he brings in for that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that needs titles. The way they debuted Jakob Fatu was phenomenal. Solo, like you said, the way he sold the cheekiness of him showing up behind. Straight super kick to Randy, gone. Straight super kick to Cody, gone. KO tries to get him, and then he takes KO outside, and he Samoan drops him onto the stairs.
It was the fact that KO gave him a super kick, and he
And
just
no
shook
sold
it
it
off.
off.
Shook
He
it
just
off,
shook
yeah.
it off. Like that
So
was
good.
crazy.
That obviously, I watched Simon Miller on his video, not his ups and downs, but his other video. He literally had a combustion because he took KO out and he Samoan dropped him onto Simba the Steel Steps.
Yep.
And then he ran around and he speared Randy Orton
Through Barry the Barricade.
to bury the barricade. And then he put Cody up onto the table.
Yep.
And he climbed 10 to the turnbuckle and did the splash through Cody through, what's the table called?
Is it
Alan the
Alan
announce
the
table.
announce table.
Every single thing that he has named,
Got taken out.
Jakob Fatu
They did
took
that on
out
purpose.
in
They did
4
that on
minutes.
purpose. And now it's going to be Simon Miller versus Jakob Fatu.
But that
an inanimate
4
object
minutes,
match.
that 4 minutes of Jakob Fatu,
Yeah.
and I think you
put
said,
him on a massive pedestal.
and it wasn't just like he just took out someone. He speared Randy Orton through a barricade.
Yeah.
He
Samoan drop.
splashed. He splashed Cody Rhodes through the announce table.
Yeah.
Like he took out Cody and Randy and
And
KO. Gone.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, it's such a great debut.
And then to add to that, Solo and Jakob Fatu putting the ones up in the ring, and then the
Yeah.
Tongans behind him being like, shit, like it's almost like they didn't know Jacob was coming,
Yeah.
and it just breeds that interest in this.
Absolutely. The only thing I will say, though,
yeah.
before we go past that, is that I think this was the second best debut on WWE TV this week.
Yes, correct.
Because
Oh,
there was
right.
only
Wyatt
one.
six?
No, third best.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
There was one better that happened on
We haven't
NXT
touched it yet.
because there was the 25-man battle royal on
I
NXT.
believe in Joe Hendry. The most viewed.
They fucking did it
the most viewed social media video
Since
for
WrestleMania.
NXT.
For WWE.
for WWE.
WWE.
Since WrestleMania, post WrestleMania season.
Sign
that's
the
it.
man. Sign him permanently. Let's
And
go.
it was just like there's been a lot of discourse online about the fact that he had that massive appearance, cut a promo, got in the ring, and got eliminated in the first 30 seconds of that match. People were livid. But when you saw the video that came out on social media and him confronting Shawn Michaels and being like, I can show up on any show, anywhere, anytime.
It's smart, man. It's very smart.
That's it. That's your whole reasoning for him getting that spotlight. He's now a made man.
The other thing, too, was that what Dave Meltzer, I think, had said was around the battle
Can
royal.
I just quote one of our great viewers?
Yes.
Who gives a fuck what Dave Meltzer
No, that's
said?
fair. That's fair. I in general believe.
I need to look up who it was, but it was on one of our short videos on YouTube. And it was who gives a
I agree. But he did make a good point for this. If you watch a battle royal, who do you remember?
Joe Hendry.
No, but like in general, right?
people that get eliminated at the start and people that are eliminated at the finish.
So
You
Joe
don't
Hendry
remember the
sits in
middle.
there and he goes all right and he gets eliminated in 12th.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It was
Dude,
a smart
He
move.
wins
Yeah.
or he's first.
Your point you just said is exactly what Chelsea Green said when she was talking to Chris Van Vliet about if you go into a battle royal, if you're not the last person, you want to be like,
Yep.
can I have the record for the quickest ever elimination? Because that's what people remember. So very similar. People are going to remember that
smart.
Joe Hendry was the first person eliminated, even though he got this massive pop. That's
I
something
think
you'll remember. If
it's
he just
smart
went out in the
booking.
middle,
And the fact that he got eliminated by Frankie Kazarian, who
He's
I
from
didn't I watched the segment and then I turned it off, and
Didn't
it wasn't
realise
until
he was
later
there.
that I realized Frankie was there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was a little annoyed about that. Partly at myself for not noticing, but also just him not getting a bit of spotlight. Because I was just like, yeah, Joe Hendry, and then he was gone, and I was like,
Yeah.
turn it off. Because I was at work at the time.
Yeah.
I turned it on for 10 minutes to watch this. And then, like, the fact that Frankie eliminating Joe now ties into their TNA feud.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And
Perfect.
like, yeah, for this week in wrestling, you have
We were spoiled.
the
man.
Wyatt Six. You
Yeah.
have Joe Hendry on NXT. Then you get Jakob Fatu in the Bloodline.
My big concern with this is how do you then keep up? Because obviously you can't keep doing that every week, but
Yeah.
you need to have something that gets people going, oh shit, it's moved on a little bit further until you get to SummerSlam, because this is where it's all really building to. I know we've got Money in the Bank next,
Yeah.
but really a lot of these feuds are starting now ready for that.
Well, Money in the
SummerSlam
Bank sells
card.
itself. Like those matches are so much fun.
That's what it's
People want to
mainly
watch
about.
those
Yeah.
matches.
Absolutely.
And we've already got Damien versus Seth already lined up for Money in the Bank too. So there's, what could quite easily be the main event that people would be like, oh yeah, that deserves to be the main event, especially after Damien's performance in Glasgow.
I think you'll have Cody, Randy, and KO against the Bloodline.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a 6-man match.
It would make sense. Because then
Well-
that way you can take the title out of it.
8-man match. Who do you put with Team Cody then?
They're going to find someone, don't they?
I think Fatu's just on the outside as an enforcer. And
Nah,
he's
no
just
way,
gonna-
no way. Nah, if you're bringing him in, he's in the
Yeah,
match.
but like, who do you get? Who on SmackDown?
Maybe you give someone a bump and a bit of a push. Maybe it's a Baron.
Tell me who.
Could
Baron.
it be?
Tell me who.
Baron Corbin.
Could it be a returning Jimmy? Because we know that Cody's very forgiving of people. Maybe he says that there's someone I think
He
can
forgave
help us.
Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be.
Could he
I
forgive
could see
Jimmy?
that.
Look, I wouldn't be mad.
Because
at
then that would play at the fact of, is Jimmy actually going to be on their side, or is he going to turn and try and go back
Yeah.
with solo? I think that's a good way to bring
Okay.
Jimmy back into it.
If he's fit,
Because then you play that whole card of, is he with the Bloodline? Is he not?
he's
Throw in
cooking.
the pot.
Okay.
Anyway, that was our week in wrestling. As you can see, a lot happened. I'm surprised we were actually able to squeeze it into an hour. I think we did quite well, but absolutely amazing shows. It's definitely the best week of wrestling I think we've had other than WrestleMania this whole year, by far. Every single show, even you said Dynamite was quite good, even though they didn't have the viewership considering.
Yeah.
We had some good stuff happen on that too. So let us know what your favourite part of the week in wrestling was. Wyatt Six, Jakob Fatu, was it the tease of Ospreay and MJF? Was it
Seth
Okada
coming
with his
back?
great producing skills?
I'm so sorry.
Let us know in the comments what was your favourite. Thank you for tuning in. By the way, we have just ticked over 150 subscribers on YouTube as well. So thank you so
Keep
much
going.
for those of you who
I
are
know
like, sharing,
I
subscribing.
know I said we only got to 600 last week, but we're within 30 of getting to 700.
Hey,
So-
we're climbing the ladder.
Get some more
Thank you
people in
so
our
much.
Discord too.
Yes, come and have a
really?
chat with us.
Yeah,
Come
good.
and have a chat
Good.
with us.
I've been trying to
TikTok.
spread that a bit.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Danielson. Thank you, Roddy
Thanks,
Reece.
Ted.
I'm Booker Ted. Thanks for joining us here, down under the mat, around the pool table of relevancy, Madison Square Garage. Scissor me, Teddy! Pew.